Also.
Look at it. Look at it. I mentioned that you read the label and see what it is. Go ahead.
Yeah, gout. What is the cause of? Is there anything the swelling?
Gout?
Yeah. So
Okay. Gout is a totally different subject, but I'll mention to you. Gout, typical attack of gout, classical, is due to uric acid. Uric acid crystals deposit in various places, most commonly is the joints. For whatever reason, it hits one joint in particular. It can affect any joint, but one joint in particular, and that's the big toe. So if somebody is taking the water pill for high blood pressure, the salt drops, other things happen, the body contracts, water, the uric acid level goes up. And once the uric acid level goes up, there is a risk of gout. So it's not the same what we are talking about today.
One of your slides shows that if you take salt, the blood pressure will go up. One of the slides.
Yeah.
If somebody has a low blood pressure, can you take salt and increase the blood
Yes,
pressure?
this is commonly done.
Oh,
This is commonly done. I have somebody living with me, she takes salt because her blood pressure is less than 100
okay.
and it's recommended to take salt.
The salt and water have any effect on the burning of the toe, heels?
Burning of the heels,
Yeah.
Kamal, I don't know it. Now that you mention, I have to look at it 3-4 points, and I'll look at it because I have never read it. Any other questions? Yes, please.
Could you say few words about sodium and potassium ratio? Importance of sodium and potassium ratio in the blood?
Yes. Question is, what is the relationship or ratio, sodium and potassium? The various membranes, body membrane, there is electrical potential, which I did not talk, is determined by how much sodium is outside and potassium inside. You know, inside of the cell is always negative. So these are the important points. Sodium, potassium, magnesium together, they can control the activity of the electrical potential, particularly in relation to your heart. It can create trouble with the rhythm. So if you have low potassium, low sodium, low magnesium, ask for help because you may develop heart arrhythmias. Go ahead, please.
A couple of questions. The first one,
Well, you have to speak loud so that everybody can hear. Come on over, please, please.
you said potassium, the salt alternative, potassium chloride is harmful, right? Potassium. But lots of doctors encourage us to eat more salads and these things. They're high in potassium. So even in the context of not a salt alternative,
Okay.
would you be saying that potassium in general is, like even if I eat a banana,
I take, fortunately, to get enough potassium in banana, it has to be a 6-foot banana to get enough potassium. Now, the point here is so valid. You go to a cardiologist, you go to any doctor for a blood pressure treatment, blah, blah, blah. They give you pills, particularly the water pill. They'll tell you to take potassium with it. It's so fundamental that you take potassium because the water pill takes potassium out of your system. And if you don't replace it, I already mentioned you can develop heart arrhythmias. When I said potassium is dangerous, is very few situations. And I'm talking about people with kidney disease. We restrict potassium in those people because they can't get rid of potassium because of the kidney disease. But by and large, we recommend people to take potassium more naturally. You heard about the DASH diet. I'm not big for diets, but DASH has exactly that. Lot of dietary complements which have a lot of potassium in it, and we highly recommend it. So your point is well taken. You do not restrict potassium unless you have severe kidney disease.
Also, doctor, there is a book I was reading recently. It's called Salt Fix.
Salt?
Fix. It's called Salt Fix. It's the latest book available in the library. It was written by Dr. D. Nicole Tony. Now, what he says is, eat more salt to save your life. It's a little opposite of what the discussion we have had today. And according to this doctor, he says that the kidney works very hard to retain salt when you're on a low salt diet. So according to him, 6,000 mg per day is more natural. That's what his opinion is.
Firstly, I can't quote about the book. I can read up on it because the reference that you are giving, I have to read to see if that's what the point
That's
is.
his opinion.
No, opinion, point is. But look at the guidelines of the whole world. Canadian hypertension guidelines, world guidelines, WHO, all those guidelines, the sodium restriction to 2,300 milligrams per day is the recommendation. Now, what you're talking about, I have to read it to see in what context he's making the point.
I think his point was that even if
No, I have to read it. That's what you are explaining. And I don't say that you're wrong, but I have to read it to see why he's saying it.
So if technically we don't have any added salt in our cooking, so is it going to be harmful or it's just
No. Okay, another thing, which I mentioned briefly, but I can repeat. If you're not taking salt, whatever salt you're taking in whatever form, the kidney gets rid of all of it. So why you're taking salt? When you take salt, at the end of the day, the kidney gets rid of it. I would say 90%, no more. So where is the need? So if you're saying you're not adding no salt, the kidney has this beautiful function. It keeps all the sodium back because you're not taking it. So you will be so rarely lacking sodium.
You talked about losing unconsciousness due to low sodium content. Is it an electrolytic effect on the nerves?
Okay. I have seen it myself. People whose sodium is 114, unconscious. And what do? We have to move the water out of the cell so that the patient wakes up. So how do we do it? So in the blood compartment, I'm talking about practically. So I tell the nurse, give me hypertonic saline, hypertonic sodium chloride. Instead of normal saline, it is hypertonic. I inject here about 100 milliliters. All of a sudden, I raise the concentration of sodium in the blood compartment from 120 to 130 in a short time. That shift from 120 to 130 takes the water out of the cell. Takes the water, sucks the water out, and slowly and slowly we wash them. Now, do they recover completely? Or are they left with any damage? Well, they can be left with damage. So happened in most of the cases that I was involved, they recover completely. Was that your question?
No, I was talking the mechanism actually.
That's the water shift.
What?
It's pure water shift. We call it cerebral edema. We use the word edema, is the swelling. Cerebral means brain. So cerebral edema, water in the brain cells. Kushori?
In the market you see some salt, it's fairly expensive. It's called half sodium and half potassium.
Yeah.
Is that a good?
Kushori, I can't honestly tell you. If you give me the reference, I'll take it, look at it. You already explained half sodium.
Yeah.
That means it's not normal sodium. We do use, in practically use, we have bottles in the hospital of half normal saline. How often do we use it, half normal saline, in patients? Very rarely. Very rarely. Jagdish, go ahead.
Yes, I've been keeping very good health, no problem. And but for the last 6 months, I've been having small amount of swelling in my foot. You know, both of them actually. And I showed to my doctor, and then you know, CT and care. And when I insisted, she said, "You are not 20." This is what the doctor said.
See, firstly, let me tell you, I have known you for so long. Your sense of humor is still there. Your sense of humor is still there. I know you're not 20.
No, but
Let me come back to the point. I'll explain to you. Have you seen bank tellers? Bank tellers who stand whole day and to give you money. Have you ever seen their legs in the evening? They are swollen. Have you seen their legs after years? They have varicose veins. You know what varicose veins are. If you see their legs, the veins are prominent in the legs, and that means the circulation is now not moving. So the hydrostatic pressure goes up and the water leaks out slightly. Now, with the age, whether there are changes in the veins is possible. Dr. Deheja is sitting with me, maybe he can help me out, and maybe Sumesh can help me out, but that's the only possibility I could think of, that as we get older, maybe that could be one of the mechanisms why our feet swell up. In your case, whether there are any varicose veins or anything else, one has to look at it. Any other question? Go ahead, please. Come up forward here, please. Come closer so that everybody can hear it.
Yeah, I had two related questions. One is
Louder.
your nocturnal awakenings. Can you control that through protein in your diet during the dinner or
I'm
lunch?
sorry?
Can you control your nocturnal awakenings through protein in your diet? Because you said proteins act like sponges. So can you retain more water for that 8 hours that you don't wake up? That will somehow balance it out. And the second question is, have you heard of hydrogen water, where they put some hydrogen pills into it? It gives the athletes more energy. I found you get almost 20-30% more energy.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to say I can't answer any of your two questions because When you say getting up at night, are you assuming to pee?
Yes.
Okay. You know why we pee more at night?
Dinner?
Guess. Guess. You are walking around a whole day. Where is the blood pooling? In your legs. I mean, it doesn't take much. Now you go home, you sit on the chair, where are your legs? Still down. You go to bed, 10 o'clock. If you are on flat, if you have by any chance, your legs are a little bit higher than the gravity, all that water that you accumulated in the lower parts of your body will move. Where would it go? Back to the blood compartment, and from blood compartment into the kidney. So you'll get up at night, and that's a very common thing that we explain. People with heart failure, you must have noticed, you know it, people who have heart failure, feet are swollen, and they have all kind of medications, and they will tell you they can't go and pee, and then they go to bed, they are up whole night. All that swelling that is there, now is moving back into their blood compartment and out through the kidney. That is those situations where there is a swelling. We are not talking about other situations. People get up at night to go and pee for so many other reasons, and we talked about this here before. And may not be the time today. And so peeing at night is very physiological. Sorry.
Just to follow up on that, because you mentioned heart, they found most of the heart failures, heart attacks happen in the morning, and it's mostly due to dehydration. So is it not better to drink water and wake up many times than not wake up at all?
Okay. Okay. So he said the heart attacks happen mostly in the morning. You heard this. Hold it. Now there is something called circadian cycle. Have you heard of it? Circadian cycle. That means over the period of 24 hours, things are not the same. To what? To your hemodynamics. Let me explain what it is. Your blood pressure, your heart rate. That's one. Number two, your hormones that you produce in the body. Are they higher in the morning, higher in the evening, what part of the day? Number three, your blood clots. You make blood clots in your body. Does it happen more in the morning and happen in the evening? Then there is something else related to circadian cycle. The point that he brought it up, and I can speak on this subject for hours, it was described in 76 by somebody named Ramsey. The heart attacks happen most in the morning, between 6 and 12. Did you know that? It's opposite to what we say. Most heart attacks happen in the morning. Why? Not because of the blood volume is low, because your blood pressure is low. On the other hand, your blood pressure is highest when? In the morning. Why? You're sleeping. 6 o'clock, I tie the blood pressure machine to you. It's automatic. It's recording without you knowing it. You open your eyes, 6 o'clock in the morning, daylight, make a recording. Your blood pressure gone up. hemodynamic, your blood pressure is up. Why? Now I measure the hormone. Your epinephrine and norepinephrine gone up. 2. The stress element, which was gone during the night, is there now. So there is your hormonal, cortisol, all these things happen. And then your blood clotting mechanism is the worst in the body. So we caution people that these things happen, and when you do in the evening, your blood pressure, especially at night, is lowest. So this circadian cycle, if you want to know it, your blood pressure, your pulse, your hormones, your blood clotting mechanisms, they are adversely affected the moment you wake up till about 10, 11 o'clock. More prone to heart attacks, chest pains, strokes is in the early morning. With those questions, comments,
More last question.
please cover over. Cover over.
Some people attribute heart attacks to be hereditary. Is it true, or they
To
say
what?
people in a particular family they will always get heart attacks?
Please, just a moment.
Some people attribute to hereditary in a particular family they will always get heart attack. They say this family will always get heart attack. Is it true?
Okay. Okay, there's a different subject we are talking about. We covered this here. We had a speaker, cardiologist. Question is genetics. Question of genetics. That's what you're talking about. You familiar with the Framingham? You know it. I don't know. Framingham group in Boston, they are world famous
Yeah, I know.
for keeping these statistics. And they came up about 10, 11 years ago, predicting who is at risk of developing a heart attack in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And they came up with an algorithm. And one of the things is family history. Those who have family history, they are more prone, they are at risk of getting a heart attack.
Thank you.
So with those comments, I'd like to thank you. And next month, we hope the hematologist will come and talk about the red part of blood, that's the hemoglobin, anemia, and so on. And we are booked for this year. There are only 2 more sessions. We have booked 3 or 4 sessions already for next year. In January, we're looking forward to some delightful session on stress. And as I say, I thank you for, it's great to have discussion.